I'm 79 years old, and I spent 40 years chasing something that never existed. My name is Robert, and I need to tell you something before it's too late for you too. I was a successful man. By every measure, society taught me to value. Corner office, six-figure salary, respect from my peers, a beautiful house in the suburbs. But I was also the most miserable person I knew, and I didn't even realize it until it was almost too late. Let me take you back to March 15th, 1987. I was 42 years old, sitting in my daughter Sarah's school auditorium for her piano recital. She was 12, and this was her first solo performance. She had been practicing for months, coming home every day, excited to show me her progress. But I was never really there to listen, always on a call, always reviewing reports, always thinking about the next deal. That night, sitting in those uncomfortable plastic chairs, watching my little girl walk across that stage in her white dress, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not the hollow pride of closing another business deal, but real pride. She sat at that old piano, took a deep breath, and began playing Chopin's Minute Waltz. Her small fingers moved across the keys with such precision, such passion. But even in that moment, I wasn't fully present. My mind was racing about the presentation I had to give the next morning. A potential merger worth $50 million. I kept checking my watch, calculating how much sleep I could get if we left right after her performance. I was physically there, but mentally, I was already in tomorrow's boardroom. Sarah finished her piece to thunderous applause. She looked out into the audience, searching for my face, and when she found me, she smiled the biggest smile I'd ever seen. She was beaming, waiting for my approval, for me to share in her moment of triumph. I clapped, I nodded, I even gave her a thumbs up. But inside, I was already planning my exit strategy. After the recital, we went for ice cream. Sarah was chattering excitedly about the performance, about how nervous she was, about the other kids who played. My wife Linda was asking her questions, engaging with her, living in the moment. And what was I doing? I was on my phone answering emails because the Tokyo markets were opening and I needed to be available. "Daddy, did you like my song?" Sarah asked, tugging on my sleeve. "Of course, sweetheart. You did great," I said without looking up from my phone. "Which part was your favorite?" she pressed. I had no idea. I hadn't really listened. Not really. I mumbled something about the whole thing being beautiful and went back to my phone. I see now that this moment, this seemingly insignificant Tuesday night in March of 1987, was a perfect microcosm of the 40 years I was about to waste. I was so focused on providing for my family that I forgot to actually be with them. I was so obsessed with building a successful career that I missed building meaningful relationships with the people who actually mattered. The presentation the next morning went perfectly. The merger was approved. I was promoted to senior vice president. My salary increased by 30%. I felt like I was winning at life. But what I didn't know was that Sarah had asked Linda that night, "Does Daddy even care about my piano?" And Linda, trying to protect both of us, said, "Of course he does, honey. He's just very busy with work." For the next 25 years, I continued this pattern. Sarah had dozens of recitals, school plays, soccer games, graduation ceremonies, and eventually her wedding. I attended most of them, but I was never really there. Always distracted, always thinking about work, always believing that my success was their success. I told myself I was doing it all for them. The long hours, the business trips, the weekend work sessions. I was building something. I was providing. I was being a good father and husband by ensuring they had financial security. But here's what I've learned. At 79, looking back at those 4 decades, children don't need a provider as much as they need a presence. Wives don't need a successful husband as much as they need a connected partner. And the most tragic part, I had no idea what I was missing until it was mostly gone. The wake-up call came in 2018. I was 74, 2 years into retirement. Linda had passed away the year before, after a brief illness. Sarah, now 43 with children of her own, came to visit me one Sunday afternoon. We were sitting in the same living room where she used to practice piano all those years ago. "Dad," she said, "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest." I could hear the seriousness in her voice. "Do you remember anything about my childhood? I mean, really remember, not just the big events, but the everyday moments?" I started to answer with confidence, but then I realized I couldn't. I could remember my business deals from the 1980s in vivid detail. I could recall conversations with clients from decades ago, but when I tried to remember what Sarah was like as a child, what she worried about, what made her laugh, what her dreams were, I came up empty. "I remember you being smart," I said weakly, "and talented, and I remember being proud of you." "But do you remember me?" she asked. "Do you remember who I was?" The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. "Dad, I spent my entire childhood trying to get your attention. I played piano because you mentioned once that you liked classical music. I got straight A's because you seemed to notice my report cards. I even went into business because I thought it would finally give us something to talk about. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. But here's the thing," she continued, "I don't think you ever really saw me. You saw my achievements, you saw my successes, but you never saw me. And now, sitting here at 43 years old, I realize I don't really know my own father either. We lived in the same house for 18 years, but we were strangers." That conversation changed everything. Not because it was cruel. Sarah wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to connect with me. Finally, as adults, she was giving me a chance to really know her before it was too late. We started meeting every Sunday after that, not to discuss her career or my retirement or the weather. We met to actually talk. She told me about her fears as a child, about the times she felt lonely, about the dreams she'd had that she never shared with anyone. And slowly I began to tell her about myself too. Not the successful businessman version I'd always presented, but the real me, the insecure kid from Ohio who thought that achievement was love, who believed that being busy was the same as being important. For the first time in our relationship, we talked about the piano recital from 1987. Sarah remembered every detail. She remembered the white dress Linda had bought her, the way her hands shook before she performed, the feeling of accomplishment when she finished. And she remembered looking out into the audience, finding my face, and seeing me looking at my watch. "I knew in that moment," she said, "that whatever I did would never be enough to hold your attention. I wish I could tell you that this story has a completely happy ending, but the truth is, I can't get those 40 years back. I can't relive Sarah's childhood. I can't have all those conversations with Linda that we never had, because I was too busy checking emails. I can't undo the message I sent to my daughter that work was more important than she was. But what I can do, what we did do, is start over. At 79, I'm learning to be present. I'm learning to listen. When my granddaughter Emma plays piano now, yes, she plays piano, and yes, I see the irony. I put my phone in another room. I sit in the front row. I listen to every note. And when she finishes, I can tell her specifically what I loved about her performance, because I was actually there for it. I've learned that success without presence is just glorified failure. I've learned that providing for your family means more than just paying bills. It means providing attention, providing time, providing yourself. I've learned that the most important meetings aren't the ones in boardrooms with strangers, but the ones across the dinner table with the people you love. Here's what I wish someone had told me at 42, sitting in that school auditorium with my mind on tomorrow's presentation. The presentation will be forgotten within a year. The merger will eventually be undone. The promotion will lead to another promotion and then retirement and then irrelevance. But the memory of really listening to your daughter play piano will last forever, for both of you. I'm not telling you to quit your job or stop working hard. I'm telling you that your work will replace you in 2 weeks, but your family will miss you for the rest of their lives. I'm telling you that no one on their deathbed ever wish they'd spent more time at the office, but plenty of people wish they'd spent more time being present for the people they loved. The most successful people I know aren't the ones with the biggest bank accounts. They're the ones whose children still call them just to talk. They're the ones whose marriages survived, not because they never had problems, but because they were present for each other when it mattered. They're the ones who can remember not just what their kids achieved, but who their kids were. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story, it's not too late. Put down the phone, close the laptop, look at the people around you, and really see them. Ask them questions and listen to their answers. Be present for the small moments, because those small moments become the big memories. The piano recital is happening right now. Don't miss it.